Hello guys, welcome to Fix It Be Happy with another repair video. Today we will open up this official Dreamcast Arcade Stick released in 1999. This stick is known for its high build quality. The housing is large and heavy, so it doesn't move while playing. And as you heard, the joystick has micro switches in it, thus it just feels like in the arcades. And as you can see, the gate this joystick has is a square gate, which I like. The buttons on the other hand, the buttons are really not the best. They are kind of okay, but they don't have micro switches and are a little wobbly, but they still do their job. The problem I have with this stick right here is that this button does not work as intended. As you can see, I have my Dreamcast Arcade Stick hooked up to my PC via the BlissBox 4Play, which is a multi-controller adapter, and it's just working nicely. But as you can see, this button right here is pressed all the times. It's the X button I just showed you, nothing happens. The joystick itself just works fine, all the buttons work too. The start button of course too. So we will open this arcade stick up now to see what's the problem. So here we are now on my desk, and let's start opening this stick. We have 6 standard Phillips screws here, and keep in mind to choose the correct size for the screwdriver, otherwise you will damage the head of the screws. So all screws are loose now, and we can open this up. I think this will be easier. Yeah, the plate comes off by itself basically. Let's put this aside, and now you can see all the internal components. Here you see the joystick, the PCB which controls everything, and of course the buttons. Now the buttons all have a common ground. The ground is connected to all the buttons, and then from this our broken button the ground goes to the PCB here. And what I will try first is to pinpoint the issue. So right now on my monitor, you can't see that, I have my control window open, and will just unplug this button, and surprise surprise, the button is still pressed. So either it's one of these connections or the PCB itself. I hoped for an easy fix for this, like a mechanical issue with a button or something. Yeah, try not to pull on the cables when you unplug these plugs from the PCB. So now I got all the buttons unplugged, and we still have the same issue. Now I unplug the joystick, still the same. So the only thing that is connected now is the PCB, no connections, so we can't press a button actually, and the PC still says that the button is pressed. yeah, now of course it's stopped working because the controller is basically disconnected. Oh well, so what I will do next is inspect the PCB for any errors or like defects, and I hope it won't be a very hard to fix error we have here. I will now unscrew the PCB, inspect a little, and see you after the cut. After having inspected the PCB somewhat, I now found out how the connection between the buttons and the main control chip works. So I hope you can see that. Basically, of course, when you press two buttons, a connection between the button connection itself and the ground is established. For example, when this button up here is pressed, we establish a connection between the ground and this orange cable. So the problem has to be that somewhere there is a connection which lets the chip think that we press the button, but this connection shouldn't even be here in the first place. So we can see that we have these connection wires to the different buttons, so these different colored ones, and we have the ground. And when we follow these wires, we can see where on the chip these connections are. So our problem button is this first one, and this goes right to this capacitor, this little ceramic capacitor. From this capacitor, this goes from this field to this field. You can see that when you turn the PCB around and check the connections there. From there it goes first of all to here, which is this point, and it also goes to this resistor. And what I tried is I tried out how the PCB behaves when I short the buttons, and basically what I did is like take this metal wire or whatever it is and shorted the ground and the different connections. So for example, the orange button, when I like short this orange button's connection in front of here with the ground, I could actually see on the PC that the button is pressed. The same when I established the connection on this point before the capacitor, after the capacitor, and even in front of this resistor. I'm not sure what the resistor is supposed to do in this case, but I found out that when I short the point after the resistor, like the USB connection with the PC completely is disabled, and that shouldn't happen. And that tells us that the resistors, or the resistor from a broken button, isn't broken. Otherwise, like, my adapter would crash every time I'd connect this PCB. So the problem either has to be somewhere else on this board, or it should be this capacitor right here. If not, it could be a similar case where a connection is established which shouldn't be there somewhere else, but I'm sure we will find that out. As you can see now, I desoldered some components of the PCB, Here on the very left I desoldered the capacitor of the button which wasn't working. That didn't make a difference. Next I desoldered the resistor, and I finally figured out how this works. When you bridge the capacitor, first of all the buttons respond, so the second part of the capacitor actually connects to the ground. And another thing is, when the resistor is desoldered, you can see here that I desoldered a resistor of a working button this time. This button keeps pressing itself. So without the resistor there's some stuff going on that makes the button basically press itself. So all I need to do is replace the resistor so that the component's back on and everything should work. Here you can see the example which I talked about. Now I got two self-pressing buttons because I desoldered the resistor for testing, but this will be fixed after the next cut. Oh man, I'm very happy about this repair I've done now. I'm so glad this worked out. As you can see, all the transistors and resistors and capacitors are in place again. And as you can see on my monitor, none of the buttons are pressed. And here you can see that all the buttons work. A, B, X, Y, C and Z, and all 6 buttons at the same time. Start button and the joystick in another mode to make it easier to recognize the joystick. So the only thing left to do is assembling this stick. So here we are, another fixed device, this time the original Dreamcast Arcade Stick. I hope you could learn something from this video, and if you have further questions or feedback, make sure to leave a comment in the comment section below. If you liked this video, please click the like button. That would really help me to understand whether people like this video or not. And if you want to see more videos of me fixing stuff or even building stuff in do-it-yourself style, make sure to subscribe. Thank you for the attention and see you on the next video.